Hello everyone, welcome to Crystal Diaries. This is the very first video of a series of videos relating to law of contracts in India. In these videos, we are going to deal with the Indian Contract Act with necessary illustrations and relevant case laws. As you all know, that contract law is a very important law paper in CA examination, in your judiciary examination, as well as in the semesters that we are going to give in our college. And in this particular video, we are going to have an introduction to contracts, an overview of the Contract Act, and some basics of the contract law. But before we begin, I would like to request all of you to kindly bring your Bare Act and notebook with a pen, so that we can also read the Bare Act simultaneously, and we can also underline and highlight the important points that we find in the Bare Act, as well as we can also note down the important points if we get any. So, let's begin. In our day-to-day life, we get into so many agreements or contracts, like any agreement with your friend for a movie night, like buying common stationeries from a nearby shop. All these are examples of contracts and agreements. But wait, do you use the word contract and agreement in a synonymous manner? Yes, we all do, because they do not have any significant difference so far as the literal sense is concerned. But is there any difference between contract and agreement in the legal language? Well, we are going to discover this in our videos, or in this video, and you may also find this difference in the upcoming videos as well. So before that, let us have a look at this. That Contract Act is a civil law as differentiated from the criminal law. Also, it is a substantive law and not a procedural law. As you know, a substantive law mainly deals with the rights and duties of the parties, or the extent of rights and duties of parties, and it also deals with the penalties and punishment in case there is any breach or violation of that. So the main act or the main legislation in India relating to contracts is the Indian Contract Act 1872. It is inspired from the common law, and it is a pre-constitutional law. Well, what is pre-constitutional law? A pre-constitutional law is a law which was enacted or which was brought into force before the commencement of the constitution. And this Indian Contract Act was enacted in the year 1872, and it contains all rules, regulation relating to contract in general. Well, another question. Is the Contract Act exhaustive? No. It is not exhaustive, because it does not deal with all the branches of law of contract. There are separate acts which deal with contract, like the Negotiable Instrument Acts, like the Transfer of Properties Act, like the Sale of Goods Act, like the Partnership Act. So the Contract Act is not exhaustive, but it is the base law. It is the primary law governing all the contractual relation, both in commercial, business and day-to-day life. So, before that, we need to know something about its enactment or when it came to force. As you can see that this enactment came into force on 1st September 1872. But do you think that we are reading exactly the same law as it was enacted in 1872? Let's find it out. Initially or originally, there were 266 sections in 11 chapters of the Indian Contract Act 1872. What were they? Section 1 to 75 dealt with the general provisions. Section 76 to 123 dealt with sale of goods. Section 124 to section 147 dealt with indemnity and guarantee. Section 148 to section 181 dealt with bailment and pledge. And section 239 to 266 dealt with partnership. But in the year 1930, an act was brought into force, and the name of the act was the Sale of Goods Act 1930. And this act repealed section 76 to 123 in the original act which dealt with sale of goods. Again, in 1932, another act known as the Indian Partnership Act 1932 was brought into force, which repealed section 239 to 266 in the original act which dealt with partnership. So, currently, there are only two parts of the contract. The general provisions of the contract, which is from section 1 to section 75, and special contracts, which is from section 124 to 238. When we say special contract, we understand bailment, pledge, guarantee, indemnity, all these things. So we are going to read separately what is sale of goods and what is partnership. Now let us look at the extent and applicability of this act. Well, this act extends to the whole of India. But prior to the Jammu and Kashmir Reorganization Act 2019, it applied to the whole of India except the state of Jammu and Kashmir. But now, after 2019, it is applicable to the whole of India. So, let us come back to the original question we had. That is contract same as that of agreement? The answer is no. We can say that all contracts are agreement, but all agreements are not contract. So what is a contract? So this has been defined in section 2H of the Indian Contract Act, which says that contract is an agreement enforceable by law. So an agreement to become a contract it has to be enforceable. So contract constitutes two elements, agreement and enforceability. So what is agreement? Agreement is promise along with consideration. These are the two main important, or these are the important elements of agreement which we shall be dealing in a very comprehensive manner in the upcoming videos, but let's have a base knowledge right now. So agreement is promise plus consideration. Now what is enforceability or enforceable by law? Enforceability means which gives rise to legal obligation. So let's take an example. Suppose you make an agreement with your friend that you are going to meet him in the evening, but he does not come. So this is an agreement. But in case your friend does not come, can you sue him for that? No, because this is not enforceable by law. So an agreement to become a contract, it has to be enforceable by law. Now we read that agreement is a promise plus consideration. Now what is a promise? A promise is an offer or proposal plus acceptance. Now offer and proposal are synonymous. You can use them as synonyms. But promise constitutes of offer and acceptance. Suppose I am offering you something and you accept that. That becomes a promise. Now let's understand the meaning of the promiser and promisee. Section 2C of the Indian Contract Act says that a person who makes the proposal is known as promiser and the person who accepts the proposal is the promisee. So with all this basic knowledge, we are going to read elaborately about the Indian Contract Act in our subsequent videos. So till then, keep practicing and take care. And for further videos, please check out the playlist.